Hey YouTube, this is Knowledge. Here, and today I'm going to be talking about what to side deck against today's meta and anti-meta. Now, it's not going to be like one of those videos where I talk about the art of side decking and how many cards you want to side in, or I'm not going to be talking about strategy or anything like that, or transfigurational siding. I'm just going to tell you guys 30 different cards that I found that are good against the meta and anti-meta today. So, without further ado, let's begin. First, we got Effect Failure, obvious reasons. In case you don't already run 3 in your deck, put any others in the side deck, because it works against all the meta decks today, except Dark Worlds. It doesn't work against Dark Worlds, but again, it works against Dino Rabbit, Injectors, Wind Up, you name it, it works. Next, we got DD Crow. DD Crow works great against Injectors and Wind Ups. Injectors because you can banish their Hornet, and Windups because you can banish their Windup Magician, but not so well against Chaos Dragons because you banish one of their monsters, great. They'll just keep sending monsters to the graveyard, so it won't really phase Chaos Dragons very much. And same with Dino Rabbits because it doesn't do much really to Dino Rabbits. Next up, Thunder King Ryo. This card works great against any deck that doesn't swarm the field with special summons, but like special summons one monster, and that's like their boss monster. They only bring it out once. Like, it's great against Dragunities because they're known for bringing out Stardust in one turn or whatever. So you just wait for them to special summon Vajrayana and then tribute Thunder King Ryo, and then it dies. And so it's great against Dragunities. It's great against you could put it in against Dino Rabbits just to waste Lagia's overlay units. So it's good for that. And also, if you find those random Exodia decks or whatever that all they do is draw, put Thunder King Ryo in for that. Next up, we got Fossil Dyna, Follow, and you don't want to use this card if your deck swarms with special summons. But if you don't, you only special summon like every now and then. If you hardly special summon, yeah, you could use this card because basically it's like Obelisk the Tormentor level of awesomeness against any of the meta these days, honestly, except Dark Worlds, but I'll get to that later. And then, yeah, this card works fantabulously against Chaos Dragons. Next up, Black Horn of Heaven. This card works miracles against Chaos Dragons, because you can just negate the special summon of a monster and destroy it. So Red Eyes Darkness Metal, destroyed. Blackluster Soldier, destroyed. Chaos Sorcerer, destroyed. And there's no cost, which is even better. So, yeah, that's a good card. Next up, we got Tropple. An overlooked card, but a good card. Especially against, let's say, Injectors, because they normal summon Injector Dragonfly. Alright, you chain. Tropple. Now, they can't do their little poppy loop that they do. And they can't. Basically, all they do is like set a few cards and end their turn. They can't bring out any more monsters. What next, And this is also it works against Tour Guide from the Underworld, and Wind Up Rat. Except I think Wind Up Rat might be special summon normally. I could be wrong, but yeah, pay attention for those things in your duels. You always got to pay attention to like the monster's attacks and levels and attributes, so you know what to side against them. Next is Prohibition. This card works against most of the meta. Declare Tour Guide from the Underworld. Declare Rescue Rabbit against Dino Rabbits. Declare, I don't know. It just, like, Injector Dragonfly for Injectors. Just a great card all around. Chain Disappearance for obvious reasons. If you manage to use this against Dino Rabbits and you banish all their copies of Rescue Rabbit, you should win the game. There's a slight chance they'll get Livier with Tour Guide or something. But this card also works against Tour Guide. So if you side in a few, you might be able to do that multiple times. King Tiger Wanghu. Good against Injectors. Good against Dino Rabbit. And Dark Trap Hole, also really good against Dino Rabbit because they'll banish their Rescue Rabbit. And then you activate Dark Trap Hole. And you send those cards to the graveyard. And then their third copy of Sabersaurus or Cabezaurus is also sent to the graveyard. And then really good against Dino Rabbit. If you get this out before they banish their Rescue Rabbit, they can't do anything until they MST or Heavy Storm, because Imperial Iron Wall cards cannot be removed from play, and so they can't even activate Rescue Rabbit's effect. And then Karma Cut. It's okay against Rescue Rabbit, you know. I probably wouldn't side it in, but it's just another option if you wanted to. Basically, discard one card, so it's a cost. Boo-hoo, but you remove from play one face-up monster your opponent controls, and then you remove from play any cards in your opponent's grave with the same name as that monster. And so you wouldn't do it to you wouldn't want to remove Rescue Rabbit, but you'd want to remove one of their vanillas. That's just my thinking on it. Because they'll just love Year. Next up, Gozen Match and Rivalry of Warlords. This will only work if your deck has either all the same attribute for Gozen Match or all the same type for Rivalry of Warlords. Otherwise, don't even bother siding. But if you don't run a deck that's all different, if you run a deck that's all the same, side these cards in. They're so good against windups, and especially even Dino Rabbits, because they can bring out their vanillas, they can bring out Rescue Rabbit, they can bring out Tour Guide. It doesn't affect you because they can't XZ summon, they can't bring out their boss monsters, and so they can't do anything until they MST or Heavy Storm, of course. Next up is Consecrated Light. This card, well, I should say this in a group. Consecrated Light and Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Side these cards in against Dark Worlds. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is better than Consecrated, but, you know, the more the merrier. So, with Consecrated, they can't summon Darks, and it can't be destroyed by battle. You take no damage from that battle. And Shadow Imprisoning, it negates effects. Shadow Imprisoning is better, obviously, but you still might want to side in Consecrated. And then Appropriate, it's an interesting card to side in against Dark Worlds, because with all the drawing they do, they always get pluses. And so if you activate Appropriate, you'll also get pluses. So you'll get pluses with them. And so when they draw cards, you get to draw cards. So, I don't know, it's an interesting side. It's kind of like Max C, but a bit better, actually, because it stays there for all the turns until they get rid of it. And then next up, 2 cards to side against Heretics, because they're gaining some popularity and support. Flog King and Mask of Restrict. Mask of Restrict, either player can tribute any monsters under any conditions. Wow, great card. They can't do anything if you have this card out in the field until they MST or Heavy Storm. And then Fog King, same thing. Neither player can tribute monsters, but it can also be a beat stick, because you can tribute summon it with 0, 1, or 2 monsters. And so it gains attack equal to the combined attack of the tributed monsters, so from 0 to anywhere, honestly. And so you get a beater, and they can't do anything against Heretics. Next up, we got Light Imprisoning Mirror, also for Heretics. Sorry, I bumped the mic right there. Light Imprisoning Mirror also works good against Heretics, because most of the Heretics are light, and so, yeah. And then the next few cards are for burn decks, 1 day apiece. You don't take damage until the end of the opponent's next turn, and you get a draw. Prime Material Dragon, you gain life points that would be inflicted. And Death Wombat, all life points damage inflicted becomes 0. Simple cards, but good cards. Next up is for, like, Chain Burn, sorta, or any deck that revolves heavy around the backfield. Side in, like, this backfield hate right here, Royal Decree. Unless, of course, I don't side in Royal Decree just because my deck has a lot of trap cards I like. And so that's why I use Trap Stun. So, Royal Decree and or Trap Stun. Pick your poison. Jinzo, like a Royal Decree, but in monster form. And then Dust Tornado, in case you don't, in case you run triple MST, you can side in some Dust Tornadoes. You know, just more backfield destruction. Then, also kind of anti-meta-ish. Good against, any deck, really, that uses the graveyard. Chaos Dragons, or Insectors, or Windups, Macrocosmos, Dimensional Fissure, and Banisher of the Radiance. Basically, they remove cards from play instead of sending them to the graveyard. So, these cards work very well against those decks. And so, yeah, these have been basically all the cards I can find that are really good against the meta and some of the anti-meta these days. Because most of the anti-meta I see is burn. And so, negate burn, or if they just have a lot of backfield, negate their backfield. Yep, guys, this has been the video on cards to side deck. Let's take a brief overview real quick. I'll just go over the names. Effect Veiler, DD Krill, Thunder King Ryo, Fossil Dyna Pachikephalo, Black Corn of Heaven, Trap Hole, Prohibition, Chain Disappearance, King Tiger Wanghu, Dark Trap Hole, Imperial Iron Wall, Karmic Hut, Goes and Match, Rivalry of Warlords, Consecrated Light, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, Appropriate, Fog King, Mask of Restrict, Light Imprisoning Mirror, One Day of Peace, Prime Material Dragon, Death Wombat, Royal Decree, Trapstun, Jinzo, Dust Tornado, Macrocosmos, Dimensional Fissure, and Banisher of the Radiance. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next video.